because that wasn't spooky enough, but okay.
Hmm.
CPPR. We are here today with a poet of the internet, someone whose inner mind is a hive mind of wisdom, insouciance, political commentary, pop cultural commentary, but with a lot of heart and a lot of soul. I'm here with Venereal Disneys. We're going to go through a couple questions that I have prepared for this artist, this memester themselves. But for the first question, everybody wants to know, Venereal Disneys, how are you doing today?
Feeling great, feeling very venereal and a little bit Disney, which is how I like to keep it.
Got to keep it the full VD. And with that in mind, one of the mantras that I think is something completely venereal Disney, something that when we tap into the refineries of your character, of your brand online, that
Mhm.
you have said, I'd like to ask you, VD, why should your fans stop acting polite?
Okay, well, the etymology of that was a riff on the old adage from the real world on MTV, um, which is stop being polite and start getting real. So at first, I just thought it was like a clever kind of adaptation of that for the internet, just like showing how clever and funny I could really be. But as I kind of thought more about it, I thought it worked really well for this page because it was tacky and familiar. Um, but I think it sort of says what I like about memes is they can be is like if people stop being polite and start getting venereal, it means uh they can like be rude and clever. Like this is like, back to what I want to get out of my memes and what I like about the memes that I consume in general is that they can be rude and clever. They can be edgy and funny, but not be like malicious or vindictive or mean at anyone in particular. There are people who do that. Um, and there are people who engage with my content who are like that, but I usually just steer clear of them or block them if it gets to that point. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll just steal this thing from MTV and then I'll just turn it into my own thing because that's what the name of the game is.
Yeah. See, and that's super smart to me. The only problem I have is I've never actually watched The Real World, but do you have a favorite character or a favorite storyline that you would impart to a first time viewer or someone that wants to watch
Uh,
MTV's The Real World?
I say, I think the one that had the most lasting impression on me was Hawaii,
Okay.
the Hawaii season, because that was where a lot of I don't know. There was like this. You just have to like check it out because there was just a lot going on there. Like they just showed up to the house, and I think they were locked out, so people immediately just like got naked and started swimming. And there was also a guy on there named Tech Money who like he was just this like really dynamic uh persona, so much so that he ended up having a part in Undercover Brother.
Oh, hell yeah. I love that
Yeah,
movie.
like he was just like some guy from the reality TV show. I mean, in terms of like he wasn't an actor or a comedian, he was just like a guy from the real world who they're like, oh yeah, let's just put Tech Money in this because he's Tech Money and now he'll live forever in that. There was also a season, I'm not sure, I forget exactly which one it was, but there was I don't think it was Hawaii because that would have just been like too much fire for one season, but
Right.
that Dave Chappelle actually made fun of. This is before Dave Chappelle had all of his like Netflix stuff. So like pre-turf, Dave Chappelle
Oh, yeah.
um, was talking. He made fun of it in a Chappelle show, but there's a season where uh, this guy David, who was just like this really jacked big guy, um, the whole house was supposed to make a R&B song or like collaborate on a music video, and he just like took it in this crazy ass direction that nobody expected.
Yeah.
Like he just was like, "Oh, guys, don't worry, I got this." And he turned in this music video of him like walking through a parking garage, like stopping by different cars, and then just like waving his finger, like, "Nope, can't have this one." And the main chorus of it was, "Come on, be my baby tonight." Come on, be my baby tonight. And actually, no, Chappelle had him on Chappelle Show performing it. It was just like
Wow.
one of the weirdest moments I've ever seen on TV, especially reality TV. So there's
Yeah.
2 seasons right there. I think it was Hawaii and New Orleans. I think
Damn.
those were the two.
That makes me want to get back into Chappelle's Show too, especially the Tech Money thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I remember I found Kanye West when he first came on. I think it was Chappelle's Show with Common, and then they did
Uh-huh.
the movie, Michelle Gondry's movie, The Block Party, and yeah, no, that's a thanks for that response, man. I like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And I'll check out The Real World. Not too big in reality shows, but one thing that I know a lot of people are into is your page, and a big reason why I want to ask all these questions so we can get some answers. So,
Cool.
how did you start this page, and when did you realize its true potential?
All right. Well, so it kind of all happened because I guess in like 2019, I had like one or two, I had a personal page for my, my real identity, government identity, and all that. Not like I'm a work for the government, but just like, my actual, I'm not, my
Okay.
legal name isn't Venereal Disneys,
Right.
but
I had a
it's,
few theories that it was either you're a government worker or you doubled as Venereal Disneys who worked for the government, or maybe it's some type of spy situation.
well, yeah, I mean, that's what I worry about, that people are going to think that I'm some like celebrity or some kind of like sketchy,
Yeah.
like government agent. It's neither one. It's just kind
Yeah.
of like a fun veil to throw out there. Um, but I could just be lying. I don't know. But the way the page sort of came to fruition was I had these 2 pages for whatever, and for internet shit, and then I just kept having these ideas for like visual puns, just like, really bad kind of perverted visual puns and all of that stuff, but didn't think it suited the pages that I did have.
Right.
Um, and many years ago, or not, I guess in like 2010, 2011, I would like make kind of proto sort of meme things and this like free paint program that they had for Macs. They were just like really terrible puns. Um, but it's all groundwork for
Right.
the, it's all grist for the grind and
Can you give
whatnot.
me
But
an example of maybe one of the first ones you remember doing on the paint?
yeah, so, well, because I was also like drinking really heavily at the time, so I would just kind of, as I was getting drunk, I would just like start messing around with these different things, and then by the time I finished, I would like have a good thing going, and then I could get into like other activities. But so there was one uh that was like Doug Funny from Nickelodeon. I just like split the head so it was kind of like a South Park mouth, and I just
Okay.
like
Okay.
I kept putting like different Dougs in the Doug mouth, and it just said it's a Doug eat Doug world. So it's like really just awful, but I would like make them, and then I would like upload them to Facebook, and I was just like the weird drunk guy on Facebook who made these stupid things like that.
Yeah.
And I think I did that for like a year or two. It's like, and then, you know, I found some other hobbies. So I did those and then kind of forgot about them. And then there are a few other like bad ones. Like there was one where, no, I'll just leave it. Like let's leave it in the past.
It's gone.
But
Man, it's gone.
yeah,
Don't
it's
ever remind
gone.
me. All right.
Yeah, yeah. It taught me
So
I got what I needed out of it, but they don't need to see the light of day
yeah. Some
or night.
projects they're best kept the little treasure box. Maybe
Yeah,
something down the
for the
road or
yeah, like the coffee table book or whatever. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah.
But
Oh,
so for this
wow.
particular page though, what happened was I met Peter Vack, aka the Master of Cum.
Shout out Peter.
Yeah, I met him at a free film festival for Trauma Entertainment. Um, Shortly after I moved back to New York and saw his movie Assholes, and I was like, holy shit! Like I just was so curious about this guy, and then found his Instagram page before it became the Master of Cum, and it was basically just like cursed images, which was unlike anything I'd seen before.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Because he's like this really handsome, odd sort of guy. I'm like, why is he not being like the hot Instagram person? And instead it's like, here's a bunch of weird images.
Right.
So I was like really curious. And then all of a sudden it became the master of calm. And he started posting like Care Bear images with funky fonts that said really like grotesque shit or like really perverted stuff. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. Um, because like I'd seen like really, really early memes, like impact font on, the really high guy or like a cat saying something, but I'd never seen like this incarnation of it.
Yeah.
So like, wait a minute, I could do that. Uh,
Interesting.
and then saw that, which was kind of the gateway, and then found out about Gay Vape Shark and Namaste at Home Dad, and just seeing all of these things all at once, I was like, whoa, there's like a whole world here. And I had these own like stupid ideas of mine that wouldn't fit on like personal pages. And it's just kind of like, well, I had this name lying around called Venereal Disneys, and like, let's just throw all this stuff together and start making this stuff happen. I was like, no matter what, I'll make these things and I'll never delete them. It'll just be like a diary of all these really bad ideas that I have. And then it just became a lot more because I start like the jobs that I was working at the time were night jobs. So
Gotcha.
I spent all this like in between time, just like pumping these things out, which ends up leading to kind of developing a style. And then I go back and seeing all these old ones and I'm like, yeah, these look pretty bad now, or like they look very, everybody at a certain point has memes that look like that, and then they start to find what they're trying to do with it. Um, so I kind of went against my own rule and deleted them, and then fast forward to now, I guess, and it's still fun, but it's been kind of an experiment the whole time.
It seems to me the same way that a lot of people talk about old blues musicians, the way or rock and roll style, where like Muddy Waters was the foundation or the basis for a lot of the electric sound. People often
Mhm.
compare Chuck Berry as someone that was like, dude, I can do what Muddy is doing, and I can give it even more voltage. And to me, that
Mhm.
maybe is, in more of a sense, what you've done with the Namaste a Home Dad or Gay Vape Guy. You've taken those credentials and the credos and the heart of what they've done and just
Mhm.
added it to 11 as Venereal Disney. So, dude, with that in mind, if
Yeah.
the past is lava and the future is a fuck, what is the present in this speckled moment, Venereal Disneys?
Well, the it is a gift, and that's why we call it the present. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I have that tattooed on my body in 3 different places.
Damn, wow. Incredible.
Mhm.
I don't even
Yeah.
have one tattoo, but maybe save up down the line. I'm willing to get a Venereal Disney's tattoo. I can make
That
that
would
happen.
be fucking crazy. I'm like, if that ever happens, I'll flip.
Have you not? I'm surprised you haven't had that yet. Really?
Yeah, no.
Damn. All right. Well, man, tell you the way this interview's going, I'm thinking about it. So moving forward with that,
Uh-huh.
uh, you said you're a fan of Christian Rex Van Minnen, and I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, what is it about their art that you like?
Well, that was one of those times when I was kind of looking at Instagram Discover, and it actually like sent some shit to me that I was like, oh, whoa, this is really cool. I love how um, I like it because it's really figurative. Uh, all right, so what I don't like about talking about art in any form is like basically the way to talk about it is always in these like contradicting
Right.
terms. It's like about music. It's like it's loud, but it's soft at the same time. It's this and it's that. But that's kind of the case with this guy because it's really figurative. Like you could see these people or these things just walking down the street, but there's still an element of like grotesqueness or distortion or mutation going on to it. So they're really pretty and like they look like actual things, but there's um, this like rotten kind of element to it too, which I think is really cool. I think they're oh, and there's always like gummy candy on it. It'll be like somebody whose face is like all warped and messed around, and then there's just like a gummy worm on there, which I think is a great
It's,
touch.
yeah.
So it's like they're dramatic, but they're also funny and they make you uncomfortable. And these are the same kind of beats that I want to hit with my stuff, not in the exact same way, but kind of like you can laugh at it, you can be creeped out by it. Um, it can be a lot of things all at once.
So with that in mind, when you can have a lot of things all at once, one of the questions I put up
Hmm.
for you was, what are your top 5 favorite Disney films? And how about your top 5 favorite venereal diseases? Do you have
Yeah.
a favorite of either one of those?
So when I was approaching this, the thing is about Disney movies, like how I view them now in hindsight, I think they're all in like Disney Plus and all of that. Um, is it's kind of creepy, and it's creepy because I think all of them are like really soft and pretty lame in hindsight. Like as a little kid, I was really obsessed with Peter Pan and Aladdin. Um, but now I kind of find Disney in general to be like crazy because it's really giant and powerful, but also like flaccid at the same time.
Yeah.
Like they own everything. They have all the money, them and like Apple and Meta, I guess, and Amazon. But it's like this empire of like cute shit, which is
Exactly.
like, which is kind of weird. It's like a massive flaccid uh, member. So, so yeah, I mean, I guess we had like Aladdin and Peter Pan, but they all have their, um, dude, something like Disney movies are really just so creepy.
Yeah.
Uh, but I also really like, just to name some other ones that I'm assuming are Disney, but I don't think I like Toy Story a lot and Shrek and also Small Soldiers.
Toy Story, classic.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Small Soldiers, I think might have been someone else, but I remember watching that and thinking that that was an incredible movie. I really I want to rewatch that one.
Yeah, there was a lot going on there. I remember seeing it as a little kid and being like, this should be like way more idiotic and action packed than it is. But there was just kind of like a undercurrent to it that I remember affecting me as a little kid. I haven't watched it since. I tried watching it many years ago,
Yeah.
um, during like a sloppy, like drunk dinner. And Christopher Cross is in it, and he's always someone who pissed me off. So I don't know, it just like didn't really work at the time. But I got to get past that.
Yeah.
I got to
No.
just grow up and get past that and see what secret Small Soldiers has
What
for
else?
me and the rest
Yeah.
of the
What else
world.
soldiers can bring you?
Uh-huh.
So
There was
with
also a cool video game at one point. There was a PlayStation game.
I think my friend had it was either that game for there's like an N64 version, I think.
Uh-huh.
Maybe. Way
Yeah, we were
back
like
when.
playing it one weekend, and I think we got like sort of far into it. And then the disc just like flipped out, and we couldn't go any further. So everything about that's like very mysterious and makes you think.
I used to burn out, what was it, the games you play NFL Street or
Yeah.
what was the other one? I remember Super Mario Strikers was pretty big. That was I don't when you're talking about times with Disney, especially nowadays being creepy and
Hmm.
flaccid. I think one of the things when you look at Disney when it started, when it really was the impassioned, egomaniacal, but still lighthearted in his style, Walt, like there was a soul to it. And when you look at what it has become today, even though it's almost stereotypical or passe to say,
Hmm.
like Disney, it's so cookie cutter and formulaic that even the opportunities they had to go maybe a little more punk rock with Star Wars, these huge properties that
Hmm.
they just missed the ball and squander any potential that they have.
No, just that, I mean, it's not really profitable for them as a brand to like push that envelope at all.
Yeah.
I remember being surprised going to Disneyland for the first time as a little kid that they have merchandise there from, because I saw this like grumpy teen coming out of the park with like this is like just before the emo era, that came out of there with like a Jack Skellington
Oh yeah.
hoodie. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Because I guess Disney owns that, or it was a Disney movie. But like even that's like kind of as edgy as it gets. But yeah, I think it all boils down to like profit. And Walt Disney was just like a really weird, bizarre dude
Yeah.
who like really didn't like a lot of people. And like Epcot Center was like originally it was like his utopian vision for what society should be.
I was just talking about that the other day with a friend and how what does it stand for? What do you wanted to call it?
I forget exactly. I mean, it's just like an article that I read a few years ago. I was like, dude, that's really just weird, you know? But that's why I think it's also a handy thing to use for my page, just because everyone has such weird different associations with this brand personally. And then, it's just really, it's like just as American as can be, and also just really odd. It's just like a weird thing to explore, and it's familiar, so people will, if Disney's attached to it, and people who work for Disney too. It's a wacky thing. But more to your
Yeah.
point is like, I think at this point it is cookie cutter, and it's always been assembly line fashion, like nostalgia, or getting, making sure little kids see it because parents will spend any amount of money on their little kids.
Yeah.
And at first it was like they were adhering to their vision because it was still new and exciting and pure and honest. But now it's been around so long and it has so much money and so much intellectual property that, they can just throw money at stuff that people love, and people will continue to throw money at it because they have to. So like even with these Marvel movies now, like
Yeah.
uh they look like Disney movies because they're all wholesome and they go kind of extreme, but they never get like actually violent. It's always essentially like a family movie experience, no matter what. Even if a lot of people die, it's like the good people always win and can always make you smile and fall in love with each other, um, no matter like all the casualties, human or mutant, who die along the way. Um, but they don't cross a certain line.
That's why I admire a lot of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man stuff, even where the third one is where some people would say unintentionally deep fried memery. Like those movies had the violent notions of the comic books, and where we're at a time now,
Mhm.
I think you just perfectly broke down where Marvel has, I don't, not to say dropped the ball, but staggeringly had a low batting average when it comes to delivering. I don't know, like what I would look for in a Marvel comic, the same
Mhm.
way Disney
Yeah.
would with whether it's their '90s Renaissance or their old material. But all right,
Mhm.
yeah, thank you for tackling that. And just as a throwaway, if your favorite venereal disease, VD.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot about that. That was
No
also a
problem. People
colorful
forget about them
question.
all the time, and then they get them, man. So
Yeah,
stick
exactly.
with
So
it.
it works out perfectly. Let's flare them up. Um, so like so one thing I took a note of is scabies. Does that count?
Dude, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is
Okay,
your interview. Tell me about scabies. Go for
cool.
it.
Yeah. So I actually had a personal relationship with scabies,
Oh
like
man.
back in the day, and the doctor was like, if you're seeing anybody, you should let them know because you probably gave them scabies also.
Oh man.
So, that was like a rude, bad time. I got over it, and so did the person I was seeing, but it was a bad couple of weeks there. I think syphilis and chlamydia are both very resonant and exotic sounding.
That's,
They have like a symphonic kind of thing going on.
they could be
Uh,
names of old Herb Albert songs. Him and the Tijuana
yeah,
brass band playing syphilis.
yeah, they're jazzy too.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just, yeah, they've got like, yeah, they they move and they swing and they fly. It's great. Herpes is fun sounding. It's like very bouncy.
True.
So there we go. And then just for posterity, genital warts.
It's a classic.
It's not a,
Underrated
it's
as
not a,
well.
yeah. Well, I was like going with either genital warts or pubic lice, but genital warts came first. So I was like, that must be the sign.
Right. Wow.
They got to be included.
Pubic lice. That's in my. That's not even in my wheelhouse of when I'm thinking of VDs.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, they're certainly they're a risk. Actually, so not to like get too film schooly here, but John Waters was talking about um in his, I think, like, not maybe not his latest book, but like his 2 books ago, was talking about um how he was watching pornography and like nobody has pubic hair anymore. So he was like kind of felt bad for all the pubic lice because he was like, well, where do they go now?
Right.
And I was like, that's a powerful, funny idea that you have there.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't even include them here. These guys, like, they can't get a break.
That's a
They're
poor.
out there. I don't know what they're doing, but um, they're just waiting.
Do you have a favorite John Waters film?
I think Female Trouble is the funniest movie that I've ever seen.
Female Trouble. Okay.
Yeah, because it's just kind of got it all, and it's also like in that glory era where like all of the original Dreamland people are there, and everybody's operating it. It's a mind blowing, hilarious movie.
Awesome. I've seen a few of his films. I love his interviews, but the one, and I bet you can name it in like 2 seconds, VD. The one with is Johnny Knoxville and the lady with the huge titties.
Yeah, wasn't that called like a dirty shame or like a rotten shame, something like
Probably.
that?
I love that. I don't think I don't know. The same way people say, I heard this the other day actually, where regardless of how you feel about him as an artist, Wes Anderson has never made a bad film. John Waters, I think, is in that same category of no matter what he makes, even like a Jim Jarmusch sense, he's true to everything that he's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's just like, you can't not love him, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
I mean, also in that same book, he started to talk about like gender politics, and that's where I was like, dude, you're kind of showing your age, because
yeah.
at a certain generation, on a generational level, it just doesn't compute. I think it doesn't compute with certain, like, at a certain point for older generations to discuss these things without just kind of digging themselves into a hole. But he's just like such a charming, hilarious guy. So I mean, I saw that movie, and I knew that it was like, I knew kind of what to expect just from the poster of it.
Right.
But it's always an experience, and it's just kind of like, whatever, he did it, let's see kind of what he was able to get away with this time. um but I definitely prefer, because at that point it wasn't like, oh, what's this crazy movie I'm about to watch. It was more so like, what did John Waters do this time? Kind of like, if you have a favorite if you have a musician who you like a lot, and you love their earliest albums the best, but they're still around making stuff, and it's going to be bad, but you still listen to it anyway, because you're like, oh, I wonder what came out, like with Weezer. um
Oh, that's a great example.
it's like earlier on, you're like, wow, when these guys were kind of at this point, that was like a golden era. They had like 3 or 4 really good records, and then there's everything else. But you're kind of curious, because it's like, seeing them grow up and seeing kind of what crazy ass turns they make. And at this point, John Waters like can't get funding for his movie, so he says. So he makes all of his stuff. So he makes his money through like speaking engagements and uh, yeah, that sort of thing.
I've heard the same thing. I'm pretty sure David Lynch has also said that now, that most of the money
Huh.
he makes is from speaking things and things on like transcendental meditation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all people really want, anyways. Is they want like a taste of that person
Right.
at this point, because they're institutions. So it's kind of like, what, they made their stuff already. I just want to like buy their book and take a picture with them, and boom, I'm done.
So with that, emphasis towards the next question. You
Yeah.
ghost wrote the original screenplay draft of 8 Mile when you were
Yes. Thanks
12 years
yeah.
old. Um,
Uh-huh.
there's been rumors circulating since I believe the first Venom film. Um, I was
Uh-huh.
on Sony lot with my friend, I'll call him TH, talking about your involvement in a semi sequel called Eight and a
Mm.
Half Miles. And I just want to ask you, this is your first, as I know of the, your first exclusive interview, first interview you've ever done. Why did you choose to come forward with this information? And can we expect a sequel to 8 Mile? Because I know that things haven't been the same for you and Marshall since the Eminem Show, which, we're going back
Right. Yeah.
03, 04 era.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's face it, I'm not 12 years old anymore. Um, so it's kind of like there's certain ideas and strains of thought you can follow when you're precocious and 12 that go away. Um, so I mean, I still think I probably have the life experience now and the familiarity with how things have transpired with Marshall's life to bop out a sequel. I mean, it would definitely take a different artistic turn because of many different things, but I think there's definitely, um, I think there's a cultural need for a sequel to 8 Mile. Um,
I agree. I agree.
I
Yeah.
decided to come forward with that information, just because these are times where if you don't disclose the truth, it's going to come out some other way. So I'm like, look, I might as well just get on this soapbox and let the whole world know, um, because it's really impressive, and I also want everyone to just realize that and give me credit. I mean, those freestyle scenes alone, like those are legendary now. You go on YouTube and it's like Eminem freestyle, and it's him doing that, which wasn't, first of all, it wasn't a freestyle. They were different takes of that,
And that
and it's
was
a
you.
movie.
You wrote those as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, I contributed some ideas for it. Like I helped formulate them.
Right.
But again, we're talking about like, one of the best rappers to do it at his prime or slightly past it. Uh, you can only guide him so much. But there's been a lot of changes since then, like uh, how the elite chose to deal with people in Marshall's life to kind of send him a message to be like, look, man, you got to start making these changes in your life and stop making fun of the president and stop, making a wacky Slim Shady song every fucking 2 or 3 years. And I think 8.5 Mile could really address a lot of these things and a lot of the other um, important things that have developed in society since then. But again, it's ambitious, and if David Lynch and John Waters can't even make a movie anymore, I don't know how a meme admin and a rapper who people don't really care about anymore, or they claim they do, but he's not really that good anymore. Um, how they're going to get it done? But crazier things have happened.
So throwing a little bit of shade to Slim Shady, but it is appropriate due to the long history that you had with this project. I think, from what you've been able to reveal about 8.5 Miles, um,
Yeah.
there's definitely a Fellini undertone here.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Well, and that's what I was going to say. Like, we'll probably mess a little bit with like time and time travel and perspective and just all types of crazy things that I've learned about since writing the original draft. Back before I really knew what I was doing, I was just trying to pay homage to like one of the most important cultural icons of my adolescence.
we have a
Yeah.
user submitted question. We're talking about
Uh-huh.
cultural uh, influences, talking about those that rule the nation across the pop cultural landscape.
Yeah.
Venereal Disney is listening to you now. I cannot tell who you are, but this fan would like me to ask you, are you the artist SZA or
Hmm.
RZA or possibly the Jizza?
Well, as you can tell by my voice, yeah, I'm all of them all at once.
Okay.
Say that no, I'm not any of them, because through some of my memes, as far as I know, and based on the origins of each one of those artists' names, I'm actually Jewish, so I'm not adhering. So therefore, not a member of. I believe it's the Nation of Islam, or like the 5%ers. I'm sorry, I'm getting my um, terms confused here. But so like, yeah, my name doesn't contain any sort of like numerology or divine sort of things like that. But SZA and I have corresponded, um, which is pretty fucking crazy to me. It's like one of those insane things that just sort of happened.
Okay.
Um, so we've corresponded with each other, and you don't correspond with yourself. Like that's kind of the rules of corresponding. So I can't be her. RZA, no, but I did get his autograph once at an award show,
Oh wow, nice.
and
Oh,
yeah, that was nuts. And then Jizza, no, but I saw him perform once at a liberal arts school and with a really shitty PA system, and it was just like the funniest thing because you basically like pay to have this like legendary rap guy come um, perform at your school, and you have him perform on like this. It was basically just like a pile of rocks and a shitty PA system that kept cutting out during the show.
oh,
That was just like, I don't know, something about it felt symbolic, or like, yeah. But I'm none of those people, but I have a lot of respect for all of them. I was trying to figure out like what my name would be if like I was in that canon, and would it be like VZA, or
ah,
like would I have to do something like Jewy with it?
getting
Because
Jewy
like that,
with it. Na 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 na. That could work.
yeah, right,
Uh,
yeah, maybe. It's hard. It's hard for the Jews when they're trying to be mainstream. Adam Sandler kind of got it, probably as good as you could, but whatever. I don't like go down that path because there's no real point to. Big
for
ups to Adam Sandler and his whole career.
Did you ever have a nickname growing up, VD, that you would be willing to share with us, even if it's my little mensch or anything that you'd be willing to impart to your fans?
Uh, no, not that I can think of.
Okay.
Yeah, people just like saw me and they were like, that guy just doesn't need a nickname, or he doesn't deserve one. Yeah, it's a touchy subject.
Are you Jesus?
No.
Oh,
Oh no.
see, all right.
Yeah, no. No, I don't think so. No.
Not
No.
okay. Well, speaking of Jesus, quite a meme figure. What is a day life in the like of a meme figure like Venereal Disneys? And can you tell that I am in fact off the grid?
Yeah, I suspected that. I could tell based on, I don't know if it was like my internet connection or yours, but
Hmm.
it had this like off the grid sort of quality to it that I appreciate.
I was
And
hanging
the
out with
day,
Playboy Cardi just before this, and that's where we're chilling at his beach house right now.
I saw that he's actually going to be performing like at Barclays Center soon. And I live nearby there, and I was like, oh shit, that's going to be kind of crazy because they just like shut down the whole area when big rap concerts come here.
Yeah, makes
Like they
sense.
don't even do that. They didn't even do that for the VMAs, which is crazy that they still make that show. Um, but anyways, yeah. So if you're in the area, just holler, because I know, because if you and Playboy Cardi are tight, then why not? We could go to Target or something right across the
Heck
street,
yeah, that's awesome.
because that's where I like to hang out.
I got a
And so
gift
the
card there.
day,
Yeah,
really, what, a $10 one?
50.
Whoa,
Get some cheese nips.
that's almost enough to get the Friends Lego playset.
Do they have that now?
Yeah, you gotta
Whoa,
Google it. It's crazy.
Friends Lego plays it. All right,
Yeah, it's really something.
but I saw they did a Seinfeld one. It was
Yeah,
like
no, you
quite
can
cool.
tell because like I think I'm frightened by a lot of things, but so Disney's one of them and Friends is another one. Um, because I see a bunch of people of all like of all walks of life kind of wearing Friends apparel. And I'm like, is this something coded that I don't know about? Because I didn't think that many people continued to care about Friends.
Right.
But I guess they do. I don't really know. But yeah, but like I guess people are like, yeah, it's another show. It's about a group of quirky people who live in New York, and it's kind of like a successor to Seinfeld. So whatever, we'll just make the Friends playset. But
Yeah.
something about it just seems in poor taste. But either way, like I just will sometimes just walk around Target and I saw um, that they had this big discounted playset for Friends. And I was trying to see if they found like if they had like a tinier version, like a tiny like Joey and Chandler's apartment,
With the
like
foosball table. There you go.
yeah, like a funny kind of like mini playset, but I couldn't find that. Or just like one Lego Ross that you could own, but yeah, nothing. It's
If
all about the big picture
with
with that show.
the big picture in mind for
Uh
Venereal
huh.
Disneys, if you could
Yeah.
have one Lego playset, that your ideal one that you would make for your brand, can you
Whoa,
please give the audience what you think that would look like? Because I think there's certainly some gold to be mined in them hills.
that's a great question. Yeah, I don't know because I don't know like whether they answer this like these are the decisions you have to make as a meme admin. You like, do you do schlocky and over the top like what people want for the brand is obviously a joke, or do you do it honestly and give a little bit of a taste of like the the heart behind the memes, a playset too. I thought you were gonna ask like what show would you want a playset of, or
No,
because
no,
like whoa, I don't really have a answer to that right now.
right now, okay. So maybe down the line, if there's a second interview, next time I get the VD tattoo,
Yeah,
then
or
that
like maybe
might
it
be
would just be, yeah,
right.
maybe it would just be like Target. I don't know.
Okay.
It'd be like an aisle
Just
of Target. I also love the grocery store a lot. So maybe it'd be like a merge of that and like I don't know. I mean, I wish I had like a good answer for that, but
I could see
no, I don't.
I could ping pong it right now. The Venereal Disney's grocery store, Venereal's groceries. You could
Hmm.
definitely have your rip off Target thing based off
Yeah,
you got the mouse logo already, maybe a little tattered.
yeah,
I don't. I'm just an
yeah. There
interested
was
in the person
actually
behind the brand.
there was a grocery store. There was a grocery store that I went to in Richmond, Virginia, years ago on a road trip that I think would be perfect for it. And I think this is the playset. Um, it was like really uncomfortably like humid inside the store, and then over near where it was the same layout as a grocery store, but you walked over to like where the refrigerated foods or like the produce and everything was, but there was no. It was set up for it, but it was still just as hot as the rest of the store, and there was just like odds and ends like scattered around it, like kind of like it was somebody's garage, but somebody's garage had like landed on this grocery store because every aisle would be like, oh, now I guess I'm in the dairy aisle because there's like a bag of cheese.
Right.
But it was just kind of all of these different things. So basically, just like a shitty grocery store. Maybe that would be my Lego playset.
I would
And
definitely throw down for that. That sounds good. That
and
does
then
sound
there was like I think on the checkout cashier uh, conveyor belt thing, it was like carpeted. It was like really, it was pretty like rinky dink in there. And then somebody walked in to get a cup for I guess he was carrying like wine or something, like kind of gas station type, like wild Irish rose sort of stuff. Came in to get a styrofoam cup from the cashier who already had the cup ready for him, like he was ready for this guy to come in. So and the guy got it and poured his wine in there, and then I noticed that he was bleeding from his head,
Jesus.
and it was
If you,
like everyone was carrying on like this was like everything about this was the most normal thing ever. And so I did too, but it definitely left an impression, and I think it would be a good kind of. You could put so many like sneaky things in there that would be great for a playset, like
yeah,
trapdoors,
I
bloody guy.
Yeah, I think the Venereal Disney's thing, that element of taking that real moment of your life, the head wound guy, the wine, all that stuff, and then you
Yeah,
just have like a bunch of little stuff throughout the store, like even something cheesy like a spider in the freezer saying some positive words of encouragement, like your memes kid.
yeah,
I don't know, dude.
yeah, yeah. No, I think a
There's
grocery
something
store is
to that.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I really like that.
shitty grocery store.
Um, shitty. Yeah, if you
So we found it. That was perfect.
uh, if just with price in mind, $50 gift card, like what would you price something like that if you were to do like your own knockoff Lego thing or something?
Maybe like 25 to $30.
Okay, all right. So for all the fans out there that will listen to this edited interview, what would you throw down for this Venereal Disneys amazing off-brand Lego package? $25? More? Less? Probably more.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would you say less at this point?
Well, because look, it's like a full play set, so that kind of sets the bar at a certain price range. But I'm thinking about just like Secret Santa and White Elephant type things, and
Good
usually
stuff.
it's like
Yeah.
10 to 30 or like 15 to $30, something like that, whatever. I don't want it to be this like elite friends thing. I want people to anybody to be able to play with this shitty grocery store set. Because whatever, like that's just the kind of person who I am. And you'd be like, well, why don't you price it lower? But realistically, things cost money. That's the other side of it.
So when you're talking before about with the elites in mind, there's one question that I've been wanting to
Yeah.
ask you. You have
Okay.
said Venereal Disneys that America should be a horneocracy. And
Yeah.
while I agree, could you please explain for all the virgins out there, because I get the sex, I get it a lot. Like
Cool.
it's all day, every morning, grapes, sex, and then I go to work and it's just more grapes, wine, and sex. And I
Mm.
just like you to break it down for all those people out there that just don't know that true pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. Totally. So the idea of that is, I think personally, these are my thoughts. This isn't like me trying to pretend like I've read the book or the books that I should, or that if I did, I even understood them. But I think this country strikes me in a lot of ways, um, as like fundamentally really prude and sexually frustrated. That's why the only decade people really talk about, as being like sexually liberated was the 60s. Um, there was a lot of time before and after that, but they've never quite recaptured that. So I think that has to do with just in terms of what the mindset of how things go, and because there is this these like just these like prolonged blue balls. That's why America has such kind of a hard on for war and like conquest, because it's like they have all this there's all this built up aggression that it can't get out, and the aggression that it does have ends up being really uh, creepy and aggressive and problematic. But I think if people were more open minded about something commonplace and embarrassing, like okay, where everybody gets horny, grandma gets horny, grandpa gets horny.
Can't forget
That's how.
Grandpa. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I include him too.
Yeah.
Um, everybody, it happens to everybody. It's just it's the facts of life. And I think if everyone was, just kind of casual about it, then people wouldn't be so up. It would mean like people could be less uptight, and it might end up solving a lot of problems, but not in like a barstool sports kind of like Logan Paul rapey frat boy kind of way. Like,
Right.
yeah, locker room talk, but more in like a con film festival sort of way. Like, whoa, this like really touching scene where they're honest about, not everybody there's a sexy scene, but it's not actually sexy because sex is rarely as sexy as they make it seem, and like softcore porn or hardcore porn, uh, hypothetically speaking.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that people get horny, and if they were honest about it and had the open conversation, making it a democratic process or a horneocracy, it will reduce a lot of the symptoms that shying away from it has bred, which we see all around us, which has to do with like, destroying natural resources, ruining the world, destroying countries for their resources. It's like, just agree that you're horny, just jack off, and suddenly you'll be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that bad thing.
I
So
remember.
that's kind of my like spiel about peace.
Well, I like that it all comes back to come. At the end of the day, world peace, it can be achieved through moments of quality orgasms and being able
Hmm.
to express yourself with those that are able to give those orgasms. You know what I mean?
But also not to be like a creepy swinger about it, because that's, I also think, the wrong way to do it. The
Yeah.
people who are all about it. I'm not saying like, I don't want to say, I want it to be a nice kind of in between of like I don't want it to be an extremely like open-minded swinger, like guy with a ponytail sort of thing. Or
The same way that like South Park in its early days had all this brutal, crazy stuff, but at the end they're like, hey, I learned something today. That's what we need in this horneocracy, maybe.
yeah, it's like you have the extremes all around you, but it's like the lack of kind of like a middle ground. Be like, look, but no, this is just the fact. We don't have to look at these like fringe things. Although they exist, we can acknowledge them. But look, let's just have a casual conversation about this thing.
Yeah.
And once you can be casual and approach something, anything really, but especially something as embarrassing to talk about as like sexual urges and stuff, it might solve a lot of stuff. So
So,
that's what I was thinking about that in like a kind of romantic sort of way.
well, with the romantic sentiment in mind, and thank
Yeah.
you for breaking it down. In your
Yo.
opinion, what's not to love?
Ah, what's not to love? I would say barstool sports and that discourse. Like, or in that case, like right wing sort of humor, if you want to call it that, because I think
Interesting.
it's because I think it's not funny. Uh, Kind of like that's why people are on that side to begin with. It's because it's like their humor comes from a malicious or hateful or cruel place, or it's at the expense of somebody, and that just doesn't really fly. I don't like bullies. Bullies don't deserve love. Um, Cliques, I think, are kind of annoying, and people are really crazy about money, like making it more than what it has to be. It's like a means to an end, but uh, it's you know it gets too much. It gets like just too much credit. It's good to have it, um, but just chill with the money stuff. Like, you don't need to buy the rug of an $100 bill off Facebook Marketplace. You know,
Oh yeah,
have a few extra bucks in your wallet, um, just in case you gotta throw it towards somebody. But it's a tool. Like it's not your family member. Hmm.
I just had someone in my life that was quite literally all about the money, all about money. Where there'd be 3 years with money, this, that, the other with money,
Yeah.
and what you've proved in just this interview alone. I know we're a little pressed on time, half an hour left if you have the time, but
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're talking about even jokingly that Lego playset idea or having
Hmm.
something like that, you price it at $25, $30, whatever. In my head, I'm thinking, and with the acclaim and the followers you have, you could easily do 50, 60. And I thought that would be, bottom
Mm.
barrel price range for what you'd want to do. But like, that's the thing is I find, whether it's different artists or musicians that I've spoken with, whether they have number one
Uh-huh.
singles or they're building their own cult following and really freaking doing it, it's for the
Yeah.
passion and the integrity of their own soul, miles
Yeah.
above what you can just get off greenbacks. So that way, I
Yeah.
have to applaud you for that because you truly do just show that. Even with the icon you have now, having the green shine behind the meme of the
Yeah.
VP image, that it says
Yeah.
money in a Wu-Tang sense more than having $100 could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like this isn't supposed to come from any sort of like preachy, like again, I don't know the practicalities of making like a Lego playset or like the overhead or like all the stuff you need. I'm just saying like what would I think would be a fair price for something?
Right.
Um, because I mean, like even today I was walking around and I saw there's an Old Navy near my apartment. Um, and I just like saw some of the clothes in there and I'm like, you know what? That's nice clothes. Like they've got nice stuff in there. But then a part of me was like, yeah, but it's not as expensive as like something that looks just like it, but is like that is like Gucci or
Right.
Fendi or whatever. Um, and just like, but you know, what does that even mean? Sort of. It's just kind of. I think it boils down to like priorities, and it's like the price of a priority, um, and bragging rights about things. So I don't really have a practical idea about a lot of this stuff, like why something costs the way it does. But in my own personal uh, ideal situation, this is how I view stuff.
One of the big things I love about your work is with the words you just used now, like I can't even remember that the price of a priority
Hmm.
was a phrase that you just said. And that to me just off the dome, it seems like I was just scrolling on IG and there's the new Venereal Disneys art. Like
uh,
that's what I mean. You got the soul, you're going with it. So with that in mind,
cool.
you know,
Yeah.
from one of your riffs I found, a lot of
Yeah.
people they laugh at you because you are different.
Mm.
But I have to ask you, have you ever taken a moment to consider that maybe they are all the same?
Woo. Um, yeah. I mean, it's something that I've grappled with a lot. It's
Break it
also
down.
weird to read. It's also weird to read it. It's another thing to think about it, and it's another thing to hear it out loud. All very different experiences.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so it's on my mind a lot. Sometimes all day, sometimes half of the day, sometimes every day, sometimes never. But recently, through my own sort of exploration and growth, um, or just trying to work on myself, I've recently thought that they might also be different too.
What
You
makes
know,
you say that?
well, it was just kind of like an open-minded sort of shared human experience kind of idea. Like maybe they're all different in their own way, or they're different in their sameness, or just something that I hadn't really considered before I bought that T-shirt. Um, that like maybe there's more in common, that maybe what we have in common is how different we all are, like in this weird kind of uh like if Corn started doing transcendental meditation, like that kind of sense,
That's
like
some
we're all the
real
same
Carmen Bozia. That's some real Twin Peaks Carmen Bozia if they would do that.
but so I don't know, it's just kind of like trying to get into other people's heads or figure out like what they're seeing or experiencing too. And I was like, yeah, something, at least at the end of the day, I'm different and they're all the same. But that only takes you so far before you have to be like, oh wait, hold up, there's so many different options for everybody and people make so many different choices every day, that if they were all the same, there wouldn't be as many options. Like there's so many different types of stuff at the pharmacy that you can buy, like toothpaste or deodorant or store brand stuff versus more expensive brand stuff. So there's like just so many options that people have, that I was like, you know what, maybe everybody's like unique in their own way, and we're um united because of that. So let's just jack off and chill.
I'm pretty sure it says that in the Bible. I learned that in the Harry Potter series. It is, you just got to jerk off and chill.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that's a phrase to like remember me by necessarily, but like it's kind of just a it's kind of a way to live your life.
Yeah.
Like I was also thinking recently, in a way, uh, like how much, when you're in high school and everything, and people, I don't know if they still do this, but they have like motivational speakers come, and they're always like these really pathetic motherfuckers who are like, something, here's an experience about me dealing with like drunk driving and
Yeah.
this and that. And I'm not trying to like downplay what their experience was, or the fact that drunk driving is awful and people die when they do it. It's sad. But if they were just like what if instead of just being like, don't do it, or like just call your parents, or have one person who's the designated driver, if they had just tell kids like, just jack off and smoke weed, because like, I don't know, when I was thinking about when I was a teenager, um it was like the only reason you would do anything as dangerous or stupid as like drinking and driving is just because you were like trying to impress somebody you're trying to hook up with, you know? So it'd be like if you just jacked off and smoked weed. I know for me personally, in like a hypothetical sense, uh, if I had done that, I would have been like just too paranoid and freaked out and then like relaxed.
Right.
First, I would have been relaxed, and then I would have just gotten too obsessed into my own head to like leave the house.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't need you. You don't need to have like a whole assembly where the whole school is there to see this guy be like, "You're gonna die if you do this." Versus like, look, if you just do these two things, you'll avoid a lot of potential danger.
That's maybe that's something to put forward to different PTO meetings and things across
Yeah,
the
to
senior
like big,
citizen.
to the big education,
Yeah.
to the big board of ed. But we'll see. We can only tackle these things like one at a time.
Bit by bit, but doing good so far throughout these questions. So with this next one, uh,
Yeah,
not to pry into your personal life,
yeah.
but you have said that when you grow up, you want to be
Hmm.
yourself, but older.
Hmm.
So who, or actually, really, what was younger Venereal Disneys like, and how do you see yourself in the future?
Um, well, so like for that particular quote, that was more so me like looking at the picture that I used for it, and it was just kind of cool and funny because you had these two guys who looked, I don't know, like they were probably from like Indiana or something, um, and were just sort of like hanging out watching sports, and they decided to take a break so that they could like make a shocker rock hand symbol. It's like clearly like a son and his dad who look exactly the same, um, which I thought was like touching and beautiful and scary, uh, all at once. So it's like in their voice that I was thinking when I made that. Um, I also think I tried using something different on that previously, and like it didn't do so well. So then I just like listened to my heart, and that's what came out. But in terms of what I was like as a young person, or how I feel about that person, I'm more comfortable and like who I am more now than then. Because back then, it's like when you're younger, you're trying just way too hard at stuff. And usually the stuff that you're trying too hard at isn't really worth trying too hard at in the first place. Like when I was in, I don't know, like when I was kind of in my teens and early 20s, uh, thinking like, by the way, I'm like, 48 now. Not really. But when I was younger, it's kind of like, what I want to be one day? I want to be like like a scummy, like indie musician who like goes on tour and looks really miserable all the time. Like that was really sexy to me. Um, but then you get a little bit older, like each year you kind of realize like, oh, something, if you're younger, you go to a party and you see that person perform, and it's like, whoa, that must be so much fun to like go to a town where you don't know anybody, and you have to go and you get to go and be drunk either at the show or after the show with like the people at the college. But I mean, you do that 2 or 3 times in a week, and you're like, oh fuck, this is so depressing. So all of these things that I thought were cool and uh, sort of admirable growing up have fallen by the wayside, and I just don't think that way anymore. Um, so that's what the young VD, the budding VD, was doing, and he tried really hard. He had some good times along the way, but I think I'm happier where I'm at now. I think in the future I will still look the same, so that's cool to know. Um, but I would also like to I guess my main aspiration is I want to look like one of those when they advertise in the what's it called, like clickbait articles, it's like, this guy's 80 years old and he's still ripped,
Yeah.
and it's like a
6
guy with a
tips to make you the thinnest you'll ever be at 80.
yeah, but it's like, yeah, this guy's 80, and it's like this dude with a big beard, but he's still like really jacked and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have a lot of health problems, but at least he like looks cut. Like he could, I don't know, he could do a lot of sit-ups or something like that. I think would be pretty cool, because people like people who are yoked up and look good like that. Uh, and let me see, in terms of like intellectual accomplishments, well, maybe the coffee table book, the like, nice kind of what do they call it in the art world? The retrospective, like the VD retrospective, or rectalspective. I'd have to think of something funny to like call
Hey,
it. And
it's got a little bit of a Ren and Stimpy title type of vibe to it.
yeah, also a creepy thing to like look into. I watched a few like exposés on the producer from Nickelodeon, the foot fetish guy,
Oh,
and
Schneider?
and then that one led into about John Kukulski. What is that his name? Guy behind Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
How he was like a statutory rapist or something. I don't know, but I know what you're saying, like the spunko kind of style of things.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but yeah, I don't want to get caught up in any sort of shit like that. Um, I'm gonna avoid that.
I know
And
they're talking about now about doing some sort of reboot of Ren and Stimpy, and in my
uh,
mind, I'm just thinking of some whether or not you're 48 or how much time we have with your,
yeah,
available with your meme page. But can you imagine a world where Venereal Disneys is so popular in a sense that some other company in Hollywood is trying to buy out your brand? Because that's what's
yeah. Well,
going
it's
on
funny.
now
I
with
mean,
this
that's
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's why it's been such a fun experiment having this page and like trying to think of new possibilities with it.
Mhm.
Um, in a few months, there's gonna be an art, like a meme art show in New York. At least like it's tentatively scheduled for February, that I'm gonna like be participating in, which is like an exciting possibility. Like doing this interview and then also participating in that show are two things where I'm like, okay, cool. These are new avenues that I haven't explored yet. Because the whole thing with this page is that I'm not trying to. The whole idea of like this mystique and this anonymity, it's not to be like, oh, I'm just like so mysterious, cool. I mean, it definitely helps doing that, but it's also because it's like once you start involving personal stuff into this like hobby that you're doing, it just becomes complicated. But there's a lot of other pages who have like people who I've become friendly with recently who have been at this for a while, and they just sort of like naturally do it, and it's not really a big deal. So I'm like, okay, well, that would be a cool aspiration. um the thing is, in terms of like being bought out by somebody, it's again, it's like so foreign to me at this point, that I'd have to just sort of figure out what to do with it when it happens. Because it's like with a lot of these things, it's like at that point, that's when the brand becomes, uh, they like diversify it, and it's kind of like it becomes its own entity, and then the person who started it just kind of like moves on to the next thing.
Mm.
So, I'd still definitely want some sort of creative uh, involvement with it, or creative say with it, because once you start doing ads for, I don't know, for some reason I always think about like Blockbuster, even though Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore, but once you start doing it for like uh Emerald Nuts or what other brands are there? Like different apps and whatever.
Even
Anyways, once it gets
Square
into
doing
that,
a commercial for it.
it just becomes like really lame, you know? It's just not really the thing that I think would be the best PR thing would be either Van Halen or Disney to like sue me for like copyright infringement
Yeah.
because I wouldn't survive that at all. But getting like a cease and desist from them for like the logo or using such and such uh, would be kind of like a good ass backwards way to sort of go through that process.
Yeah, that'd be.
Then I'd have to like restart and do all this stuff, but it would also like get this attention. So I don't know. But if Hollywood was like, yeah, we're gonna buy it, I'd be like, weren't you guys here before? Don't you remember me? I wrote 8 Mile when I was 12.
Right.
And they're gonna be like, oh shit, that was you. I'll be like, yeah, you know?
And that's my whole thing is where you're talking about, the Fellini aspects of 8.5 Mile that you want to incorporate. That you've watched Marshall become entrapped in a way of his character, the brevity of his own wit has become something that even people are like, hey, don't talk about Trump now, man. That would be the most soul crushing thing in the world if Venereal Disneys is snatched away from us. But listening to the words that you were saying now, I just would like to suggest, I know I've got one more question left,
Yeah.
but I think it would be great if you did a Venereal Disney's playset of a video store. There's something that is very, very, not to say nostalgia heavy
Mhm.
in that sentiment, but and I can't see you, but I can certainly hear you. The person I'm
Mhm.
speaking with, I think there's a lot that you could do there too.
Yeah.
Something, just throwing out more ideas. But for the last question, because
Uh-huh.
I know we've been talking for a while and I've got 3% on my laptop.
Oh damn.
Venereal Disneys. I've asked
Yo.
every single interview I have ever had, whether it be Nakey Jakey, Megan Trainor, Snoop Lion, Asher Roth, recently BG Cumby, and soon to be a bunch of unreleased artists that I truly love and admire. Venereal Disneys, could you describe in as much detail as possible your ideal breakfast?
Yeah. Breakfast right now has been like my favorite time of the day, but really what I do is just eat a fuckload of cereal. Because I've just been grappling with I don't know, I have like a weird relationship with food, but like so for a while I wouldn't even eat breakfast because it was like just me trying to be like Kurt Cobain or something. I don't think he ate breakfast because grunge, you know. But for me now, I really like peanut butter cereals. So I have Kashi Go, and I also like puffins, and I like almond milk. So those are the things that I like for breakfast, and then I make coffee, and that's it right now. I mean, that's all I need.
You
I
keeping
don't
it
need the
black
bacon
coffee
or
or a little cream in it, a little sugar, any
no.
certain
It's
like
it's
French
it's
vanilla?
black. It's black. I like French roast coffee now. Um, and I grind the beans. I'm just like yuppie scum all up and down with my breakfast right now. But I like what I like. I even have a French press. I'm just like the
Ooh,
worst.
there you go. Yeah, you got
Yeah.
the Patrick Bateman coffee vibes going on.
Yeah. And you know the scene in that movie where the scene when he's doing the crunches and Texas Chainsaw Massacre is playing in the background?
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the kind of like I really like that image a lot. So that ties in with that with the Christian Van Minnen, like like that's an image that like really stuck with me, and that's like kind of also the beat that I want to bring to bring to the page. But just yeah, mentioning that. But yeah, no. So my it's just like really bougie and awful. So I know I'm gonna cringe if I listen to this interview back and this is included. But that's what I like for breakfast. I used to just have like some snacks here and there, um, but now I'm just like all in with that cereal coffee life.
Going all in with the cereal coffee life with 2% battery left on this shitty MacBook Air I've had for years.
Cool.
I just want to say, Venereal Disneys, your breakfast seems incredible. I have not tasted puffins yet. I've heard that they're very, very healthy when I look up things on
Yeah.
fujicake.com, but going through a
Yeah.
little bit of a peanut butter kick right now. I
Yeah, it's
will
great.
get back to you on the cereal and peanut butter combo because that sounds great. But
Well, no, I mean the peanut butter puffins and then the peanut butter coffee or the peanut butter Kashi Go. And on the Kashi Go box, there's like a girl skateboarding and her friends are there on the side of the bowl, like, yeah. And I mean, that's how you start your day.
a bunch of screaming girls going, yeah,
Uh-huh. Same energy.
hell yeah.
And you
With
can't
that,
do that unless you have a good breakfast.
yeah. Um, I had when you're talking about breakfast stuff too. I haven't gone through phases where I don't eat in the morning and
Hmm.
like I'll have like maybe one big meal throughout the day or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
uh,
Food is weird. I have a unhealthy relationship with it.
do you, all right? Maybe one more question before this thing burns.
Yeah.
Is there? I no, actually I did have it on the list. I had something about fast food items,
Uh-huh.
and is there one fast food item that doesn't exist anymore that you would want to bring back? And
Did it? I don't think they have the 7-layer burrito anymore at Taco Bell, and that's what it would be. I think about that a lot.
so just how it's
Supreme. I
gone
think it's
now.
called the. It's gone now. It'd be cool for it to come back, and if it did come back, I'd be there, rocking it supreme.
He'll be there for you, like Joey and Chandler will be there for that Venereal Disney's play set.
Yeah, we'll
Today's
see.
show is brought to you by condoms and
Cool.
my childhood McDonald's mug that I got that has Woody on it from Toy Story. So
Oh,
with that
just the
childhood,
perfect combo.
that's the whole thing. And the old Disneyland glasses, all that stuff. I just want to say,
Wow.
yeah, VD, just as best as I can, watching the screen and seeing the twinkling green behind it and this
Uh huh.
Super Saiyan level of Disney guy. I just
Yeah.
want to say thank you for your candid conversation,
Yeah.
the amount of effort that you've put into this, and I'm gonna try my best, being the king of cringe myself, the colossus of cringe, to make a Sandlot reference.
Dope.
I don't think this will
Cool.
be too cringy. I'm very excited. This is your first interview, and
Cool.
thank you for speaking.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and like genuinely is like a lot of fun. I was like nervous to do it, but I'm glad that I did. I had a lot of fun, and I'm excited to hear it. So thanks for making it happen.
Uh, yeah, thanks for speaking today, and I'll let you know
Yeah,
how
for
the
sure.
interview goes
Perfect. Cool. Can't wait to hear it.
later, man. Thank you.
All right. Yep. See ya.
Man, that guy was cool.